Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I have myself a white pineapple monster reserve and some dirty ice. And we're going to answer the question, do we become wise through age, study, or experience? This is one of 250 philosophical questions of which I have a list. And I am going through that list as I make these videos so that no matter what, I have some videos to show to you. Just so you know, I drink things in these videos because I do have a store. I am a food blogger. You can see my blogs at Richard Reviews Everything. And anything I drink, something that is not 0 calories, I come in here because I shouldn't be drinking things that are not 0 calories. When I'm not in here, I'm pretty much drinking water. Anyway, for every 1,000 subscribers, I got to purchase one of these bracelets from 4Ocean. 4Ocean pulls a pound of trash out of the ocean every time I do that. If you'd be so kind as to comment, like, and subscribe, you'd be doing your part for a better world. Now, do we become wise through age, study, or experience? Well, let's tackle age. Let's just assume that somebody is in a coma. They're in a coma for 20 years, they age. They wake up, they're no smarter than they were. Not how the world works. You definitely do not accumulate wisdom through age. Okay, so then you have study. You can learn things through study. You can learn the right things and you can learn the wrong things. But you know, black fly or something? An ant? I once ran into a man who said he was a jeweler and he showed me a watch covered in diamonds. And I was able to tell that it was a real Rolex watch because someone had told me the difference between a real Rolex watch and a fake Rolex watch. All right. And he said, yeah, you're right. That's the difference. Okay. The difference is in the second hand. See, this glass has a little dimple for you to put your finger so it's easier to grip, and the ice is sticking to that. So, that was that's knowledge. But knowledge and wisdom are closely correlated. You gain knowledge from study primarily, although there's a certain amount of wisdom you gain from knowledge. All right. This is a thing is that, one of the things that they say is a smart man learns from experience, but a wise man learns from the experience of others, and that is a study. One of the things you do in terms of study is you learn other people's experiences. And even when you break it down, isn't study an experience? If I read a book, that's an experience. The contents of that book would be considered wisdom, right? Or knowledge, not wisdom, knowledge. Because it's like, if you read The Catcher in the Rye, all right, that does not make you necessarily wise, but it makes you knowledgeable about The Catcher in the Rye. Now, you look at someone like me, I could tell you that Holden Caulfield, the main character of The Catcher in the Rye, was clearly suffering from a condition called non-reparative sleep. He was having memory issues. He was probably sleeping, or non-reparative sleep. He was probably not sleeping well, and he was probably feeling like crap all the time. What's the first thing we should have done is get him into a doctor's office and run a full workup on him, see if he's got any nutritional deficiencies, which could be the issue. Then get his ass to a psychiatrist and a psychologist. He's going to need repeated therapy sessions, and that's what we're dealing with. This is a man with issues, and we need to help him. These are things that need to be treated. He has a disease. That's wisdom. Okay? The knowledge is what helps the wisdom. I mean, it's like, it's like the old saying, guy pulls into a mechanic takes a hammer, slams a part of his engine, and the car starts right up. The slamming part is the knowledge of knowing that's how to do it, and the wisdom part is recognizing that's the problem with the car. And normally, the more knowledge you have, the more wisdom, although these things do not necessarily correlate. One of the better examples is perhaps, when people criticize Israel, for example, right? I never dismiss that criticism offhand. I always examine that criticism. Okay, what are they saying? Is there any truth to it? Let me go look it up. Somebody once said to me, I think it was the Health Ministry of Israel said they found no evidence of sexual abuse on the October 7th attack, all right? And so I Googled that, and I didn't find anything. And I said, we have evidence. I mean, it's very clear evidence that civilians were sexually abused. There was a new report stating that, Hamas operatives even sexually abused the dead. It's very disgusting what happened. But, well, why did the Israeli ministry say that? And I said, there's no evidence that they did. I can't find anything that says that you did. I went out there and I looked it up. Okay? Wisdom versus knowledge. Wisdom is, he said something. Now I better look up to see if it's true. Just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's true. This is a thing. And, generally speaking, the people who oppose Israel tend to sling lies. Okay? Misinformation is a weapon of war. False information is a weapon of war. This is what we have. Another great example is I once had one of the smartest men I ever met. Looked like Tom Hanks. And he said that Mr. Rogers, Fred Rogers, from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, was a Marine Corps assassin. Dude was a sniper for the Corps and had one of the highest kill counts of Vietnam. I believed him. I was in my 20s. It's not true. Okay, Mr. Rogers was a minister. Okay, that's all he did for his lifetime. He was a minister, and he did the show, and that's all he did. He did not have a military history, but I was told that, so it was false information, and the person who told it to me had no reason to lie to me, so he believed it. But you need to go and verify it. That's one of the things they used to tell you back in the day. Verify any information you put in a report with two sources. Another instance was somebody told me to go read a book on the history of the Israeli War of Independence, also called the Nakba, right? I refer to it by both names. Normally speaking, you refer to a war by the name given to it by the people who win it. All right? In America, we refer to the Civil War as the Civil War. It should be referred to as the American Civil War because it was a civil war, not the Civil War. There were other civil wars. Well, in the South, they think of it as the War of Independence. They were trying to make themselves independent from the Union. Right? So, typically speaking, whoever won the war is the one that gets to name it. That's how war works, right? So in America, it is the Israeli War of Independence. So I forget the name of the book, but somebody said, you should read this book. And I said, well, that's good advice. So I looked up the book. And the book had a lot of criticism behind it. A lot of people criticized the book being based on flimsy evidence and eyewitness accounts from people who, didn't have a lot of possibility of even having been there. And it's a lot of, my cousin said or my uncle said, not I saw it. And the people that did I saw it were probably, not credible sources because they'd say anything to make money. So this is one of those things that we have to do. Knowledge, if I read that book, I would have knowledge of that book. And theoretically, at least, I would have greater knowledge of the Israeli War of Independence. I would not, however, have true knowledge. True knowledge can be often hard to come by. In fact, with history, well, the winners write history. So, it's like the siege on Troy. This guy was out there, his wife didn't want to, or somebody's wife didn't want to bang him anymore. And so she moved to Troy, and he said, "No, that's my wife. I'm going to kill all of you, turn your children into slaves, and raze your city to the ground, and take my wife back." If she don't want to be your wife, she ain't your wife. But we often think of the people like Agamemnon and Achilles as heroes. They're not heroes. They're dickholes. They're out there killing somebody who's just trying to live their life. All right? That's the way it works. So wisdom is primarily a derivative of experience. But study increases wisdom because study is an experience. So simple answer: you can grow old without becoming wise. You can, or simple answer, wisdom comes from experience. Long answer: you can grow old without being wise, but the wise man often has more experience. You can grow wise without growing old through study, and you can gain wisdom from your study, but there has to be a certain level of experience. So, in a way, all three can be contributing factors, but experience is the key. One of the things people often say about me as a person, when I go to a job, I'm there for 3 months, people think I've been there 3 years, because I know the job so well, because I take every experience, I take everything I can from every experience. And those things, they're important. It's just one of those situations that you have to take into account. Well, anyway, that's just my opinion. I'd love to hear yours in the comments below. I'm Richard. Danger Ducky says it is now time for you to comment, like, and subscribe, and support this channel so we can do things like save the world by removing trash from the ocean, planting trees, and feeding orphans. Danger Ducky approves.